Hey guys, tonight we step quietly into a story seen through my eyes. Japheth, one of Noah's sons. The wind stirs gently over the hills surrounding our home, and I can smell the dry earth, the faint resin of the cedar beams, and the tang of animals stirring in their pens. It's the kind of story that reminds you how small we are next to God's plans. You can almost feel how faith carried us when nothing else could. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening somewhere quiet tonight, post your location and your local time in the comments. I love seeing where these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. I stand at the edge of the ark, staring up at its massive timbered sides. My hands rest on the railing my father made, rough with saw marks, the smell of pine sap clinging to my fingers. I am 13, though my mind sometimes feels far older, stretched between awe and unease. The ark is larger than anything I have ever imagined, longer than our family's house multiplied by 10, taller than the tallest hill, and somehow full of life before the animals even arrive. I trace the lines of the beams, watching the sunlight streak through the gaps, golden and hopeful, like God is painting promises in the air for me to see. Father walks beside me, each step deliberate, his staff tapping softly against the wood. I notice the rhythm he keeps, the way he measures each movement, and something inside me sighs with relief. If he is calm, then perhaps I can be too. But my stomach twists when I think of the waters to come, the rain that everyone in the village whispers about with fear. I glance at him, wanting to ask, "Will we really survive?" But the words die in my throat. I feel the weight of expectation, of living up to the faith he embodies without questioning. In the yard below, my brothers Shem and Ham scurry about, hauling baskets of provisions. Their energy is boundless, but even they pause occasionally, catching glimpses of the ark's immense shadow and whispering in awe. The villagers are nowhere to be seen now. They have gone back to their homes, leaving us with this sacred task. Some scholars say the people in our time didn't understand the warning God sent, or perhaps they did, and chose fear over obedience. I do not know which is worse. I only know the tremor in the air, the charged silence before the first storm that prickles the back of my neck. The animals begin to arrive in twos, their noises mixing in a strange symphony, the low rumble of oxen, the soft padding of deer, the high chirp of birds, and the occasional bark of a dog-like creature from the surrounding hills. I step closer to the railing, watching how my father greets them with gestures and murmured words I cannot understand, though I know they are blessings. There is a gentleness in his eyes as he studies the lion cub, assuring it, touching its mane lightly, whispering faith into the air around it. I feel a strange mix of fear and wonder, fear of the unknown, and wonder at how all creation responds to the man my father has become. I touch the ark's deck, rough and firm beneath my fingers. My mind drifts to the flood stories I've overheard, tales whispered at night by neighbors, lands swallowed, rivers unending, entire villages gone. My heart hammers. Will this wood, these beams, these animals, and our own small family truly be enough? And then I see him, standing tall, arms raised to God, as if he can feel the plan in his very bones. Father's voice is calm and steady. Trust in him, Japheth. We walk with his hand. And I do not yet know how those words will carry me through days of endless waiting, but I repeat them silently in my mind like a protective spell. The first gust of wind stirs the sails of the ark, and I watch the cedar boards shiver. The smell of wet earth rises from the nearby stream, hinting at the rain to come. The sky is gray, but not yet angry, soft clouds stretching across the horizon like a velvet blanket. I notice my father's hand on my shoulder, and his eyes meet mine briefly, silent reassurance passing between us. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like to step into the water without the ark, but I quickly shake that thought away. My faith is young, but I feel it grow each time I look at him, see his courage, and hear his prayers echo in the wooden halls of our home. The ark is not yet full, but I sense the enormity of what is coming. The animals shuffle, stamp, and sniff, sometimes spitting, sometimes braying. I learn quickly which are gentle, which are mischievous, and which will need the calmest hands. The cedar floors creak under my weight as I move closer to the pair of doves perched on the rail. They flutter nervously at first, wings brushing my face like soft reminders of life's fragility. I whisper, "It's okay, little ones," and the words feel both foreign and comforting. Perhaps I think this is how faith works, a soft acknowledgement of fear, followed by a gentle insistence to trust. By late afternoon, the ark is more than just wood and nails. It is a place of sacred rhythm. Father checking the ropes, Ham arranging feed, Sham ensuring each pen is secure. I pace alongside the long hull, noting small things only a son can notice. My father's hands, scarred from years of labor, moving with precision, the way he hums softly while working, the quiet glances exchanged with mother, full of meaning I cannot yet name. I think about how the ark must feel to the animals, this strange floating city, and how it will feel to me once the waters rise. Some believe that preparing for what is unknown teaches lessons no one else can. Already, I feel the truth of that whisper, deep in my chest. The sun begins to dip behind the distant hills. Golden light spills across the ark's deck, turning the animals' coats warm and amber. I take a deep breath, letting the sense of hay, cedar, and distant rain mingle with the memory of the dry dust beneath my sandals. My mind flits between worry and wonder, tracing the horizon, imagining waves stretching endlessly, imagining what it will be like when the rain finally comes. I feel a quiet excitement mingled with reverence, an acknowledgement that I am part of something much larger than myself, a story written across sky and water by hands unseen but deeply faithful. Father gathers us all near the railing. He speaks softly so the animals cannot hear. Prepare your hearts, trust, obey, and endure. The Lord watches and guides. His eyes sweep the ark's vastness, then linger on me, and I feel the full weight of responsibility for our family, for our task, for the future. I swallow the lump in my throat, nod silently, and repeat the words in my mind. Trust, obey, endure. I am only a boy, yet I sense the quiet strength growing inside me, like a flame coaxed into life by wind and wood. The first drops of rain begin, tapping against the roof in gentle percussion. I press my hand to the railing, feeling the vibrations, and imagine the world being washed anew, the hills softening, the dust settling. Father stands beside me, hands clasped, whispering prayers I cannot fully understand, but feel in my chest. My fear is there, yes, but alongside it is a warmth, a sense that God's hand is already guiding us, even before the flood. Scholars still wonder whether Noah's faith was simply courage or something more divine. From where I stand, watching him, I believe it is both. And so we wait. I lean against the cedar, my eyes tracing the horizon, the gray clouds rolling like a slow sea. My brothers are quiet now, the animals settling, the world braced for what is to come.
Steady and insistent, drumming against the cedar roof like 1,000 tiny feet dancing in rhythm. I lean close to the railing, feeling each drop's vibration through the wood, and I can't help but imagine the world beyond the ark, streams rising, fields turning to rivers, animals and people I may never see again. My heart flutters between awe and fear. I want to look away, to hide from what is coming, but curiosity keeps me tethered to the edge, staring into the grey curtain of water. Father moves beside me, calm as ever. I watch how he reads the storm, how his hands adjust the ropes and lashings, how he walks the deck as if it were solid ground, and the water below just a gentle ripple. There is a quiet authority in him, a rhythm I have always trusted. Yet even I, standing here as Japheth, can feel the tension of the world outside pressing against the ark's walls. I clutch the railing tighter, and Father notices. His glance meets mine, a small, reassuring smile tucked beneath the brim of his weathered hat. The animals respond to the rising sound, shifting, stamping, and whispering their discomfort to each other. I step slowly between pens, whispering calm words to the lion cub, to the goats, to the doves. Some of the animals are uneasy. Others seem to settle, trusting the calm carried in Father's voice and echoed in mine. I realize then that faith is not just for humans. It is a language of calm, a rhythm that even the wild can recognize. I think of this as I watch a pair of young deer pressing close together, ears twitching, eyes wide with awareness. Some believe that animals scent storms long before humans do. I feel certain it is true. Inside the ark, the air grows heavy with the scent of wet wood and hay. I pause for a moment, closing my eyes, and imagine the mountains beneath the floodwaters, the hills slowly disappearing. The world I knew, the familiar paths, the gardens, the village beyond our home, is being washed clean. My chest tightens, but in that tightening, I feel a small spark of wonder. To see creation bend and shift under God's hand is terrifying and beautiful at once. Scholars still ponder whether Noah foresaw all of this in dreams, visions, or simply an unwavering faith. I think maybe he understood it through both fear and reverence, and I am learning to do the same. Ham runs past, carrying a basket of water to a pair of restless oxen. He smiles at me briefly, a mix of excitement and nerves reflected in his wide eyes. "It's beginning," he says, voice barely audible over the pounding rain. And indeed it is. The flood has started, and there is no turning back. I feel my stomach twist at the realization, a mix of thrill and trembling responsibility. We are not simply passengers. We are caretakers, witnesses, and participants in this unfolding story. I wander along the deck, passing Shem as he tends to the goats. Each creature is a reminder of life's fragility and resilience. I glance at the doves, their feathers damp, and remember the story of birds as messengers, carriers of hope. The thought brings a small smile despite the storm. My heart aches for the world below, for those who are not inside the ark, for all the people who chose to ignore the warnings. Yet I also feel a gentle, unspoken reassurance. We are here, protected and guided. Faith, I realize, is like this shelter, an invisible ark around the heart, holding hope against the storm. By mid-morning, the water has risen around us. From my vantage point at the railing, I see only a grey expanse, waves pressing at the sides of the ark. The landscape I knew is submerged, trees poking above the surface like tiny islands, rooftops barely peeking through the rising tide. My fear flares, sharp and raw, and I imagine standing on the hillsides I have known, watching the water climb. I shake the thought away and focus on the immediate, the ark, the animals, my family, and the rhythm of our survival. Father gathers us inside, the scent of cedar and hay mingling with wet fur and feathers. He speaks softly, recounting prayers he has whispered each day, words of trust and perseverance. I listen, letting them wash over me, grounding me in the midst of uncertainty. Each phrase seems to pulse in the walls, a quiet heartbeat that steadies us all. Even the animals respond, easing into calmer murmurs. I feel a warmth in my chest, a sense that the hand guiding the ark is larger than fear, larger than the storm, and far beyond what I could ever command. Hours pass in a blur of rain and motion. The ark sways gently, rocking like a cradle, and I imagine it as a womb of hope and safety. Sometimes I rest my forehead against the rail, eyes half closed, listening to the soft splashes and the distant muted calls of birds fighting the wind. I think of Father's hands again, the way he grips the beams with quiet determination, and a thought strikes me. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is presence in the midst of it. My own hands, smaller, less experienced, try to emulate his steadiness as I tend to a nervous lamb, guiding it to calmer ground. The world outside is relentless, but inside there is order and care. I notice how the ark itself seems alive, the creaks and groans of wood bending under its own weight, the rustle of animals, the faint scent of rain-slick wood. I realize as Japheth that each day will blend into the next, a rhythm of waiting and watching, tending and trusting. The 150 days we are told to endure stretch before us like a vast, invisible map. I do not yet know how I will fill them, how my courage will stretch, how faith will hold, but each small act, guiding an animal, checking a rope, whispering a prayer, feels like a stitch in the larger tapestry of survival. By evening, the ark has settled into its first true rhythm. The rain pounds with unrelenting force, but the sway beneath my feet has become familiar. I stand at the railing, eyes tracing the horizon where sky meets water, and I whisper a quiet thanks for safety, for guidance, for Father's faith, and for the small lessons that each creature teaches me about trust and patience. My hands tremble slightly, not from fear alone, but from the awe of witnessing creation shift under God's hand. Some believe that the ark itself was a lesson in obedience. I begin to think it is also a lesson in observation, humility, and wonder.
The days blend together now, indistinguishable except for the subtle changes in the rain, the sway of the ark, and the soft rhythm of our routines. I wake before dawn, drawn to the deck by a mixture of curiosity and duty. The water stretches endlessly in every direction, a grey mirror reflecting the muted light of the morning sky. I lean against the railing, tracing its patterns with my eyes, the gentle rise and fall of waves, the occasional ripple where a bird struggles against the wind. I can almost feel the pulse of the earth beneath the flood, a silent reminder of the power and presence of God in ways I cannot fully name. Father moves quietly beside me, checking the animals, adjusting ropes, and murmuring words I can barely catch. He is a constant in a world transformed, a steady presence that anchors me, even when the rain pounds like drumbeats on the roof. I notice how his hands, strong and scarred from years of labor, move with such precision and care, as if every gesture is a prayer in motion. I try to imitate him, helping a restless camel settle, guiding the goats to a quieter corner, whispering to each creature the same words Father whispers to us. Some believe that animals can sense faith, and I am beginning to see how true it might be. The smaller creatures fascinate me most. The doves huddle close together, wings damp and bodies trembling. I watch as they preen each other, sharing warmth, a quiet resilience in the face of the storm. Their soft coos and fluttering wings become a meditation, a gentle rhythm that calms the tension in my own chest. I realize that even amid chaos, life insists on small gestures of care. Each movement, each careful touch is a testament to endurance. I imagine that God smiles at these small acts, finding significance not just in grand obedience, but in tiny, thoughtful kindnesses. By mid-morning, Shem and Ham are helping Father secure a loose plank on the side of the ark. I join them, hands on shore but willing. The rain drips relentlessly from my hair onto the deck, pooling at our feet, and I feel the cold bite of water through my tunic. Yet there is a strange comfort in the shared labor. We work not just to preserve life, but to participate in the story itself, to be part of something larger than our own fears. Scholars still wonder whether Noah's sons felt the weight of responsibility more than fear. I know now that it is both, entwined in a complex dance of duty and trust. I wander to the center of the ark, observing the animals in their pens. The lions sleep, muscles rippling beneath damp fur, the cubs occasionally nipping each other with harmless teeth. A pair of elephants press close together, their trunks entwined in a gesture of reassurance. I marvel at the variety of creatures, each one a reflection of creation's intricacy, each one a living testament to the care required to sustain them. My thoughts drift to the world outside, to hills now submerged, to forests flattened by water, to people who ignored Father's warnings. The sorrow tugs at me, but I remind myself of the sanctuary we inhabit, of the ark as both shield and classroom in patience, faith, and observation. Hours pass with a gentle rhythm, feeding, cleaning, watching, whispering calm, listening to the sighs and breaths of all around. I notice the subtle changes in the animals' behavior, the way they adjust to the continuous sway,
how they learn to trust the sound of the ark as a promise of safety. I feel a parallel in myself. Each day, my faith grows, as subtle and persistent as the rain. Each small task, each whispered reassurance becomes a meditation. Even as fear lingers in the corners of my mind, I feel it softened by the tangible acts of care and the quiet example of Father's unshakable presence. Sometimes I sit by the railing, watching the monotony of grey water, letting my thoughts wander. I think of the mountains now hidden beneath the flood, of the valleys turned to lakes, of the creatures struggling below that we may never see. I feel a pang of guilt mixed with awe, guilt for the survival I cannot fully comprehend, awe for the mystery of God's orchestration. Even the storm seems to hold a strange rhythm, a pulse that I can sense in my chest, a heartbeat of creation that matches my own. Some believe that Noah had moments of doubt or longing for the world left behind. I recognize that too in myself. By evening, the ark settles into a familiar cadence. The rain has not let up, yet the interior has its own life. The low murmurs of animals, the soft shuffle of human feet, the quiet hum of survival in motion. I pause, closing my eyes, imagining the horizon where sky and water merge, wondering what waits beyond. The thought is daunting, yet strangely comforting. I feel Father's presence behind me, the warmth of Shem and Ham nearby, the silent reassurance of animals adapting to the rhythm of our floating home. The 150 days ahead feel vast, yet I sense a steady current beneath them, guiding each moment, each breath, each whispered prayer. As night descends, the lullaby of rain becomes more pronounced. I settle near the lantern, the glow soft against damp wood and fur, listening to the sighs and breaths of all around. In this suspended world, I feel the meaning of patience, of vigilance, and of quiet faith. I think of the days ahead, of the routine that will shape us, of the trust that will sustain us. Waiting is not passive, it is a profound exercise of courage, a testament to endurance, and a deep, ongoing conversation with the divine. I close my eyes, letting the rhythm of water, wind, and faith cradle me into the quiet reflection of the evening.
The mornings stretch long and gentle now, broken only by the soft rumble of water against the ark's hull and the occasional stir of the animals. I awaken to the smell of damp wood and straw, a scent that has become oddly comforting, familiar in its persistence. I step onto the deck, water dripping from my hair, and watch the rain fall in endless sheets, each drop a note in a quiet, celestial symphony. The world outside has vanished beneath the flood, replaced by a boundless grey expanse, and yet within the ark, life carries on with its own rhythm, a microcosm of order amid the chaos. Father is already moving among the animals, his hands deft, his voice low and steady. "Feed them first, Japheth," he instructs, and I obey, feeling the weight of responsibility settle into my shoulders like a mantle I am learning to bear. I carry buckets of grain to the goats, speaking softly to calm their skittish movements, noting the way their eyes reflect a mixture of curiosity and trust. Some scholars suggest that Noah's sons learned patience in ways no ordinary classroom could teach, and I see that now. Each interaction with the animals is both practice and meditation, a lesson in gentleness,
observation and care. The elephants are always my favourite to tend. Their massive bodies shift slowly, ponderous yet elegant, and when they lower their trunks to touch mine, I feel a quiet connection that transcends words. I marvel at how these creatures, so different from me, can embody both strength and vulnerability, much like Father himself. I imagine that God intended this pairing of human and animal, a deliberate lesson in empathy and stewardship. I brush away the rain from their ears and murmur a prayer of gratitude, feeling the soft vibration of their breath, a reminder that life persists even when the world seems submerged. Midday arrives with little fanfare. The ark creaks and sways, a constant hum beneath our feet. I find solace in the routine, feeding, cleaning, checking water levels, whispering reassurance to frightened animals, observing patterns that speak of survival and care. The lions stretch lazily, yawning with a surprising gentleness, their sharp teeth hidden behind calm eyes. Even the smaller creatures, the rabbits and fowl, seem to have learned a rhythm, moving quietly, trusting the ark as they would a mountain or a tree. Some believe this was a miracle within a miracle, that God's hand orchestrated harmony amid confinement, and I feel it too, an undercurrent of providence threading through every careful action. I steal moments to wander the deck, letting my thoughts drift toward home now swallowed beneath water. I remember the hills of Canaan, the olive groves, the laughter of neighbours before the storm. Fear tugs at me as it has in moments when the rain sounds like drum beats against the roof. But alongside fear is awe at Father's steadfastness, at the animal's resilience, at the quiet, unspoken work of survival that surrounds me. I reflect on the paradox of confinement and freedom. Though we are trapped within this wooden world, our spirits stretch across the water, tracing lines of faith, patience, and hope. Evening approaches, painting the interior of the ark in dim, flickering lantern light. I watch Shem and Ham assist Father in adjusting a loose beam, their movements echoing the same care and reverence he taught us. I join them, my hands finding familiar grooves in the wood, muscles learning the art of precision under guidance. The work is rhythmic, almost meditative, each tap of hammer or shift of rope a beat in a sacred rhythm of endurance. I realize that waiting, in all its monotony, is itself a form of devotion, a practice of vigilance and trust that molds character quietly, almost imperceptibly. By nightfall, the storm continues unabated, yet there is a soft hum of life within. The animals have settled into corners, some lying close together, others pacing gently as if to soothe their own nerves. I sit beside the lantern, noting the flicker of shadows across damp wood and straw. My thoughts drift to the 150 days we are told to wait, to the magnitude of what we cannot see, to the patience required to endure not just the physical confinement, but the suspense, the uncertainty, the daily acts of faith. Scholars wonder how long it takes to internalize such lessons, and I sense that the answer is in moments like this, quiet, reflective, suspended in the balance between fear and trust. I close my eyes and listen. The soft drip of water, the low hum of animals, the distant roll of thunder, the rhythm of our own breathing. Each sound becomes part of a larger tapestry, a reminder that even when the world is consumed by rain, life inside continues, nurtured by care, faith, and shared purpose. I feel a deep, serene gratitude, understanding that waiting is not empty, but filled with observation, reflection, and the gentle affirmation that God's plans unfold in ways we may not immediately comprehend. With this thought, I let the hum of the ark cradle me, and the rain becomes a lullaby, guiding me into quiet contemplation.
The days stretch in a gentle monotony now, each one blending into the next. Yet within that rhythm lies a profound lesson in patience. I rise early before the sun, or rather before the idea of sun, since the rain hides it, listening to the soft swish of water against the ark. Every drop is a reminder of the world we once knew, and the promise of the one we are yet to reclaim. I move among the animals, feeling the same hum of life that has become our constant companion, marveling at how every creature has adapted to this new, confined world with surprising grace. Father is a quiet force in the middle of it all. His calm, deliberate movements inspire both awe and reassurance. I watch him distribute food, tending first to the more anxious animals, speaking to them in his soft, measured voice. It's easy to forget sometimes that this is also a trial of faith for us, not just for the creatures. His steadfastness reminds me that obedience and care can coexist, that patience is both a duty and a form of worship. I notice the way his eyes scan every corner, alert yet unhurried, and I try to mimic his composure, though my heart sometimes beats a little faster when a young goat stumbles or a rabbit panics. In these quiet hours, I often find myself thinking about the world beneath the flood. What has changed there? What has been lost? And what will remain when the waters finally recede? My mind conjures images of hills and valleys submerged, towns swallowed. Yet I cling to faith, the certainty that life persists, that the world is not erased, but temporarily veiled. Scholars still ponder whether the ark was simply a vessel of survival or a floating classroom of endurance. From my vantage point, it is both. A place to learn patience, observe creation, and cultivate a heart attuned to divine timing. The animals continue their soft rhythms, elephants brushing against the walls, sheep huddled together, birds preening despite the confined space. I marvel at the ways they adapt, how instinct and divine order seem to collaborate. I find myself whispering encouragement, noting patterns, making subtle adjustments. Even in the smallest acts, there is a sense of sacredness,
a reminder that stewardship is both practical and spiritual. Father watches me sometimes, his subtle nods affirming that I am learning, growing, participating in the quiet miracle of sustained life. Occasionally fear rises like a tide. One evening a strong gust rocks the ark, and water seeps into a joint we thought secure. My pulse quickens, but Father's calm, hand steady on the beam, reminds me to breathe. We patch it together, working side by side, learning that even challenges are opportunities to cultivate faith and diligence. I realize that these long waits, these small crises, are less about the physical danger and more about tempering our hearts, teaching us to trust, to act with intention, to find courage in the mundane. In the quiet moments, I reflect on my own thoughts and fears. I miss the hillsides of Canaan, the warm sunlight, the smells of home. I wonder about my siblings' dreams, about how our world will be rebuilt, about whether we are ready for the lives that await beyond the waters. And yet, alongside these uncertainties, I feel a steady thread of hope. The ark is a sanctuary, a cocoon where patience, faith, and resilience intertwine. Every creak of wood, every soft rumble, every drip of water becomes a meditation, a lullaby of trust that God is orchestrating even what we cannot see. By night, I sit near the lantern, tracing shadows across the wooden walls, and I think of Father's quiet wisdom, that waiting is not wasted, that endurance can be sacred, that even the most ordinary acts carry eternal significance. I watch the animals settle, some curled in corners, some lying close together for warmth and reassurance, and I feel a kinship with them. We are all passengers on this journey, learning to move gently, to live patiently, to trust unseen guidance. As sleep approaches, I allow my mind to wander gently. I imagine the clouds lifting, the waters receding, the world awaiting our return. Yet I am not anxious. I am present, attuned to the rhythm of life inside the ark. Every heartbeat, every breath, every careful action reinforces the quiet truth that God's timing is perfect, that patience is itself a form of worship, and that faith can carry us even when the world is unrecognizable.
The final stretch of our journey feels different, though the rain continues its relentless patter. There is a subtle shift in the air, a softness almost imperceptible, as if the world itself is taking a gentle breath. I notice it first in the birds, who chirp a little more confidently, and in the goats, who stretch and shift with a lightness I have not seen before. Even the larger animals seem calmer, their movements less urgent, more measured. It's as though creation itself senses the nearing end of our long confinement, the promise of dry land whispering through the ark's walls. Father walks the deck slowly, leaning on the railing, his eyes scanning the horizon beyond the endless grey.
I follow him silently, taking in the vast expanse of water that has consumed the familiar contours of our world. He speaks softly, almost to himself. The Lord's work is never rushed, Japheth. Patience is the vessel in which miracles are carried. I carry his words with me, letting them settle like a warm cloak over my thoughts. I remember the first days on this ark, how the waters seemed infinite, how every creak and splash felt ominous. Now I see that each day of waiting has shaped us, tempered us, taught us the sacred rhythm of endurance. I walk among the animals, checking on each pair, offering soft words of reassurance. Some of the younger creatures seem to sense the change, nudging each other gently, exploring corners they had previously avoided. Even the older animals move with a subtle curiosity, stretching their legs, lifting heads, smelling the air as if tasting freedom before it fully arrives. In these small moments, I feel the quiet grandeur of God's providence. Scholars sometimes wonder how life was preserved in such close quarters, but I know it was not only skill or planning, but faith acting as the unseen hand guiding every paw, hoof and wing. The wood beneath my feet creaks in familiar patterns. I pause, placing a hand on the railing, and reflect on the weeks of rain, of monotony, of the slow passage of time that stretched patience to its limits. Fear, boredom, curiosity, and hope have all mingled within me. I remember nights of listening to Father's quiet prayers, of glimpsing my siblings' smiles and frustrations, of feeling the hum of animals' breathing settle over me like a blanket, and I see now that waiting itself has been a sacred act, a form of worship in motion, teaching me that faith is as much about quiet endurance as it is about heroic deeds. Occasionally, I allow my mind to wander to the land we left behind. Hillsides now submerged, familiar villages hidden under the waves, the streets and olive groves of my childhood. The memories are bittersweet, but they carry warmth, a reminder of what was and what will return. I reflect on how fear can often cloud vision, but faith restores clarity. Some believe the flood was only punishment, but I have come to see it also as a testament to mercy, a chance to begin anew, guided by patience, perseverance, and divine intention. As evening settles, I sit near the lantern's glow, watching shadows dance along the walls. I think of Father's steadfastness, of the quiet courage he modelled every day, of the small acts of care that preserved life and dignity. My own heart, once restless, now finds rhythm in these familiar patterns, feeding animals, checking provisions, observing the subtle shifts in water and weather. I realize that faith is not always loud or dramatic. It often whispers, nudges, and guides through the ordinary, the repetitive, the slow accumulation of days. Night deepens, and the rain finally begins to soften, the drops becoming less insistent, more like a gentle patter. I lean against the railing, inhaling the scent of wet wood and salt-tinged water, feeling the world shift beneath us. The horizon hints at lighter greys, the faintest suggestion of clarity. My siblings move quietly, each absorbed in their own reflections, and I allow a smile to cross my lips, the first unburdened one in many weeks. We are still afloat, yet I feel a subtle lifting of weight, the promise of land, of new beginnings, of life restored, echoing in my chest. The ark has been our sanctuary, our school, our crucible, and as the first hints of light brush the sky, I sense the miracle waiting. Dry land,
new life, and a chance to step into a world made fresh by divine hands.
The ark rocks slowly, a gentle cradle swaying with the rhythm of the water outside. Listen closely. The soft patter of rain, the distant ripple of waves against the hull, the quiet breathing of animals settled in their pens. Doves huddle together, goats curl in corners, and even the great elephants stand still, calm as if the whole world has paused. Take a deep breath. Feel the cedar beneath your hands, the warm, faint scent of straw and wet wood filling the air. The lantern flickers softly, casting golden shadows along the walls, dancing like tiny, careful prayers. You are safe here, suspended between sky and water, cocooned in patience, faith, and the steady pulse of life. Father moves softly nearby, whispering blessings that drift like music across the deck. Let your mind follow the rhythm, the creak of the wood, the whisper of your own breath, the gentle sway of the ark. Watch the doves preen, the goats stretch, the subtle stirrings of creatures breathing themselves into calm. Imagine yourself here, part of this quiet sanctuary, and feel the world slow around you. Now, let your eyes grow heavy. Feel the tension of the day dissolve like water dripping from the deck. Let each heartbeat match the ark's rocking, each exhale carry away worry, each thought soften into calm. The grey horizon outside begins to lighten faintly, but you do not need to rise yet. Here in the ark, everything rests, everything waits, and so do you. Sleep now. Let the gentle sway, the hush of life, the soft murmurs of faith cradle you into rest. Dream of fresh air, new land, and life restored. When you awaken, the world will still turn, but tonight, for now, you are held in this quiet, sacred pause.